Okay, now let me check whether we have finished all the slides. This is SQL, and this is not the right one. It's the wrong one. I think we downloaded, what was it called? Beginning, yeah, beginning SQL. Okay, beginning SQL comments. Let me double check, see whether we have finished all the syntax introduction. Basic syntax. Let me just quickly go over this few more slides, I think. And then we are going to do hands-on. Slideshow, starting from current slide. Okay, so here, this is a basic select statement. So after the select, so basically, remember the 4 things. Okay, when you create SQL commands, the 4 things you need to specify. First of all, what type of action. So in here, we are trying to retrieving data, so that will be select. Okay, if we're going to delete records, then delete. If we're going to insert, create new records, that will be insert. If we're going to change values, some values inside an existing record, then we do update. So specify what actions you need. Secondly, from which table? The name of tables, and then columns, and then finally the rows. Which rows? So for rows, you will use conditions to specify which records will be affected. So will be deleted, and will be retrieved, or will be modified. So those where clause will specify the records. So remember the 4 things for each SQL statement. Okay, and then this is. We talk about how DBMS is actually using some kind of loop to process your SQL statement, even though you do not write loop, you do not write while loops, but actually as our DBMS, like Oracle, is processing your SQL statement, but just interpret that as like a while loop. Okay, so this is a simple demonstration. So here we are trying to get a name column and the source name column, these first two columns. So we say select these 2 columns, and then the name of table is students. So we select from students. So that will give you entire columns here. Okay, and then the column names, you can specify all the columns you want. So for example, if I want to just lesson column, just say select lesson from students. All right, so for example, here select just name, then we just get name column. If I want to select all columns, then select star from students. So star stands for all the columns. Okay, and now this is an example to show you how to use a where clause to specify the records instead of entire columns. I want to get certain rows of those columns. So here we get all the columns, so all the tables, but then the records we want to get is those the age greater than 20. So look at the age column. So if anything that age is greater than or equal to 20, then the corresponding records will be retrieved. So that will filter some records out. Okay, only retrieve the records that satisfy these conditions. All right, so we're going to practice that. We are spending most of the time to do select statement. Okay, and next, let's say delete statement. Delete statement. So when you do delete, you simply say delete from the name of table. Remember, you can only do 1 table at a time, except select. All the 3 comments, three type of comments, we only handle 1 table at a time. Just remember that. So you cannot delete records from multiple tables at one time. You can only do 1 at one time. Okay. And also do insert and update. You also can only do 1 table at a time. So you can say delete from the table, and then which records will be deleted, you specify that in the where clause. But in this case, you do not have to specify columns. Do you know why? Because when you do delete, you delete the entire row. Everything, all columns will be deleted. So it does not matter which column you're talking about. So basically, all data inside the record will be deleted. Okay, so this is how, so the where clause is kind of similar, just basically specify which records will be deleted. Okay, And then in case you make a mistake, so for example, if you say, I want delete from EMP table, then what's going to happen? If you do not specify records, then all rows will be deleted. Okay? So in case of this kind of mistake, just make sure that you can use transaction control command rollback. Rollback means undo. Okay? So undo that, so that way you don't lose all the data. Okay, of course, if you lose all the data for transaction, for our learning purpose, you can always go back to a script file to recreate those tables. But for production database, you cannot have that luxury, right? So you have to undo it, make sure if you made a mistake. Okay, and then, so how does it process? So basically, how does DBMS process delete statements? So basically, it scans each record to say whether the record meet the condition, filter condition. If it does meet, then the record will be deleted. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next record. So again, it's using some kind of while loop until you finish all the records scanning. Then this delete statement is processed. And the insert statement is a syntax for insert. So just say insert into, remember you have only one table at a time. And then after table, you have a choice of specifying which columns you want to put data or not, no column specification at all. Okay, so if you specify columns, then you say column 1, column 2, column 3, so which columns, and then correspondingly the values, what are the values will correspond to those columns. So those values will be inserted into those corresponding columns. Does that make sense? So if I want to insert into EMP table, I just want to insert EMP ename column, then just provide one value for ename. Okay? Or if I want to insert 2 columns, ename and also salary, then you provide 2 values. One for ename, and one employee name, and one salary. So just make sure you match those columns. Okay? But what if you do not specify the columns? In that case, you're assuming that you are going to specify values for each column, for all the columns inside the table. So for example, EMP table has like 10 columns, right? So you're going to provide 10 values for those. Okay, so the values must also match in the original order of those columns. So for example, EMP table, EMP number, employee number is the first column, then you need to provide the employee number first. Okay, and the ename the second column, then the second place you need to provide the ename. Okay, what if you do not have value? So suppose you want to create a new employee, but the job is not, you don't know the job yet. So in that case, you just use null, N-U-L-L, to replace the value. Okay, so we are going to practice this statement. And then let me see, this is probably the last one, I guess. Update statement is a syntax. Okay, so update the name of table, only one table again. And then you say set. And after set, you can have a bunch of column equal to value, column equal to value. So for example, if we want to change the first column, then the name of column equals to new value. And then comma, if you want to also change the second column value, then say column 2 equals to whatever new value for second column. Okay? And then again, the last clause, where clause will specify which records you're going to make the changes. Okay? So for example, you only want to change for that particular employee whose job title changed to different thing. Then you say set update EMP, and then set job equals to new job title, and then will specify that particular employee you want to update. All right. So we are going to do hands-on. So from now on, you need to put your hands on. Okay. And this is what we're going to do. First, I'm going to give you examples to answer the question. For example, each one I give you a query, right? And then I'll answer it and I explain to you. Okay. And then I'm going to give you a couple of 2 or 3 questions, just like that we just did, just example we did. And I'm expecting you to do it. So I'll give you like 1 to 2 minutes for each query, or maybe a little longer if I think that you may need a little more time to think. So the point here is you really need to put your hands on to practice, because it's coding, it's programming. You cannot just watch me to learn. Okay, you have to put your hands on to do the work, to practice. and then you're going to make mistakes, and then you're going to learn from the mistakes, and then you just kind of reinforcing, the syntax and the errors you made, why you made those errors. So basically, from that repetitive process, you learn. Okay. So at the end of the class, so after very few times, I'm going to use whiteboard, but very few times. But most of the time, you're going to just put your hands on the keyboard and type, okay? Write comments. Okay. So at this point, everyone just open up your SQL developer, log on to Oracle. So I'm going to exit that. Okay, so I'm going to follow this. There's questions here. These questions. So basically, just those exercises. So is in the week 8 outline, you can just open that yourself or just follow my screen, and then I'm going to open up SQL Developer. So log on to SQL Developer, and then I'm going to tell you. So maybe it's just a good way to keep a record for yourself. So for each question, just type the question and then put your questions, put your answer below. And then after the class, you can just upload, just get a screenshot or just save the session and upload that to eCourse as attendance proof. Let me see, log on. So. And the last week, I showed you how to create a sample tables. So let's do it again, just in case. So let's go to eCourse, and go to public, and then go to educational resources. There's one called a scripts loader. Okay, so load that, and then let's create a sample Oracle tables. And then if you all move all the way down, not all the way down, just somewhere close to the beginning. So it is. So the
how did you get there again?
eCourse, public, and then educational tools. All right. So let's try and we need HR database. So we're going to just copy that. So create HR database, and all the way to before to the place before create logon database. So basically, I'm going to copy all these comments here. Okay. And then after that, I got simply just paste to here, paste to SQL developer. And then this time I'm going to run all those commands. So I'm going to select all of them. Make sure you fully select each one, select all of them. Okay, so this is how SQL proceeds. If you mouse cursor inside a statement and run it, and that only that particular statement will be executed. Okay, but if you select something like this, you select partial statements. The statement is not selected, but it's not fully selected. Then in that case, actually, you're going to get error message saying that this statement is not complete. Okay, so if you're going to select, you make sure you select host or complete statements. For example, complete this statement or complete statements. So make sure you do not select partial things. So let's say
it goes down to create what logon database?
Before the place of logon database, create HR database.
Okay.
So let's say select all that. Okay, so then just run it. So it should have your table should be recreated, okay, without any error messages. Does everybody get that? We did that last week though, right? We was like Wednesday, right? Last Wednesday we did this. Okay. All right. Anybody need more time? You need to let me know, okay? Otherwise, assuming you already have that, don't be shy. Because if you if you don't have this beginning database tables, then you cannot practice what I'm going to do today. Is everyone okay? Good. So if it's okay, now let's start. Say I need to have at least 2 tables. So DESC, DEPT table.
Did you just delete all of that code?
Yeah, I just deleted that because I don't need those code anymore.
Okay.
So after you run it, and then you should make sure that you have a table called the department table, DEPT table. Okay. Let me do this one. I think this is clear, right? Yeah. So let's do it again. So it should have department table. Okay. And then you should also have EMP table. Okay. Okay. Now let's just take, before we write queries, we should understand the structure of the tables. Okay. So you can tell that the department employee. So that's what the first part of a class we talk about. How tables, how records should be connected. Then of course one department have many employees, right? So it should be one-to-many relationship. So that is clear. That's clear case that the department number is a primary key, might be duplicated inside the EMP table. There we go. So that is a foreign key, right?
Professor?
Yeah.
In my script output, like what you're looking at right now, it shows the department table, but it doesn't show the command of like describe department above it.
Oh, does not show this one?
No.
Does not reproduce this one? That should be okay. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. So you may have a different version. All right. So we have those tables, and then we say that the department table is a primary key, and then that the foreign key is here, is the employee table, right? And there's another place that our knowledge about data models help. That is employee number, employee and the managers. They should be connected, right? So employee manager is actually, you see that number 4, that manager is actually foreign key reference to employee number itself. So basically you have like a one-to-many relationship, like a recursive one for employee to tell who is a manager of which employee. So basically you have, that is you can see from this relational model from this table. Okay. All right. So next, let's just follow the exercise sheet, and then we're going to do one by one. Okay. So let's go back to this one. Okay. So you can see my screen here, right? So first one, I said I want to create a new department, production department in Akron. Okay. In Akron. So let me just say, first of all, I copy that, and I'm going to put inside here. So for comment, put 2 dashes in front of it. So that so when you're running the script, for example, consisting of many statements, then something like this, starting with this, will be just as a remark, will not be comment, will not be executed. Okay. So I put that in here. All right, so now let's say, how do we create a new department? So I'm going to do insert into DEPT, right? Okay. And then let's just try to do the one with specific columns. So we need the name of department is production, and the location is name. We know not DNAME, right? DNAME, right? So remember the name of the column here. DNAME here. See? Okay. So DNAME, and then location. Okay. And then the two things we are given. However, we cannot put values in this case. So for example, if we do a production, you will see why you're going to get an error message. And then location is Akron. For text values, you put inside single quote. Okay. So semicolon to finish that. And then if you try to run this statement, you're going to get error. You can tell me why. You probably can know, why it's wrong, because the department table. So you get an error message like this. Okay, cannot insert now into what? Into department number, because if you look at department number is a primary key, right? It's not null. See that? So you have to have a value for department number. So you cannot just leave that as empty. Okay, but you can leave name or location as empty, but you cannot leave department number as empty because it's a primary key. All right. So therefore, I'm going to need to add like a department number here. So DEPT number. So what department number we should add? Let's just say I want department 50. So I'm going to tell you, say let's say, what if I'm going to make sure that if we want to make this department numbers unique, we can create like an index outer number, not index outer number to sequence to generate these numbers instead. Okay, so now we can do it. Okay, so you can tell that this order of columns do not matter. So just make sure that if columns required is mandatory, then you have to have value. Okay, but then just also make sure that values and the column names matching. Okay, so for example, second column is location, then you need the location. Okay, third column is department number, then you need to put department number in there. Okay, now you can run this statement. Should have no error message. So one row inserted, right? Okay. Now let's say if I want to use a sequence to generate these numbers instead of just manually create these numbers, this is what we do. Okay, let's say create sequence for DEPT number. Okay. So that's a create sequence. Okay, the name of sequence, let's say DEPT number SEQ. Okay. Okay. So when you say start sequence, then you have to say starting from which one. So let's say we already have 10, right? We already have 50. So let's just do maybe like 60, the next one. Okay. And then increment. So every time you increment by, just increase that by 10. So next number will be 60. Then the one after that will be 70, so on and so forth. Okay. So I'm going to create that, use that sequence to generate the IDs. Okay, so the sequence I get missing without start with 60 and increment by. Okay. I'll run that again. So now the sequence is generated. All right, so now let's try to use a sequence to generate new departments. So next time, let's say I want to create a department called operation. Do I already have operation? Maybe let's just change it to something else. Let's try change it to marketing. Okay, let's say we have created a new department in Cleveland, and we'll just create a new department, marketing department. Okay, so I'm going to say insert into. So let's just try to put that question here. Okay, create a new marketing department. Okay, so I'm going to do insert into DEPT, and this time I'm not going to specify columns. So if I do that, then I have to provide the values for all the columns corresponding to the original order. So originally you have department number first, DNAME next, location next, right? Last. So you need to provide the values like that. So first value I'm going to use is generated from this sequence. Okay, so this is how we do it. We'll say DEPT number and SEQ, okay, and then say dot next value. Okay, so that is going to be department number. And then for department name, we already have that, so marketing. Okay. And then finally, location. Say in this case, we do not specify a location, so we can use null value. No, so means that value is missing. All right. Okay, now let's run it. So then the new department is created. Okay, so you know how to get all this, so retrieve the entire DEPT table. DEPT table, you know how to do that, right? So basically select star from DEPD, okay, and then semicolon. So that will show you the entire department table, including the records we just created. So here, so you see that department safety was created from the sequence, and the marketing is a name, but the location is missing. Okay, that's that one we just did first, right? Okay. All right. Any questions about this? Now, if there's no questions, I want you to do this. I want to create a new employee record. Or let me say whether I have the questions here. So just follow that. Create 2 new employees. Okay. Lisa hired in this date, and Sarah hired but missing values. Okay, let's do that one. So Lisa hired with title. Okay. So let's just create a new employee. Okay. Create a new employee record for Lisa. Okay. Hired in this date with title clock. Okay. So what do we need to do? Insert into EMP. Okay. Now let's say what do we need to specify. We need to specify. So first of all, you have to have a primary key value. Let me just describe this first. Okay, let's run describe EMP table first. I think we already did that. Okay, it's right here, right here. Yeah. So if you look at the employee table, it has employee number as not null, is that required? So you have to have employee number to begin with for each record. Okay, so let's just say I will have employee number, make up something, and then we have ename, right? That's given, and then we also have a hire date, and then we also have a job title. So this job here, okay. So employee name, job, and also hire date. So basically, we are going to specify values for this for Lisa on only those 4 columns. Okay. Okay. And now values. Now, what is employee number? So again, you may use a sequence number to do it, but let's just say I'll just make up something, say 9,000. Okay. Okay. And then ename as Lisa. Okay. Hire date. Now, how do we specify Oracle date? So if you have like a text that have like a value for date, then you're going to just specify date in this format. This is Oracle default date format. 2 digits for date value. So that means in this case, 2 digits, December 12, 20. So 20 first. Okay. And then 3 letters, first 3 letters of a month name. So you're going to use DEC. First 3 letters of month name. And then the year number, complete year number, which is 2018. And then you also put that inside a single quote. Remember, this is Oracle date. Okay, even though it's also using single quote, but that's how just Oracle recognize that default format, default date. If you have a different kind of format, then you have to use a function to process it so that Oracle can understand that's the date. Okay, I'm going to tell you the function second. So for now, let's just say I will specify a literal date value as such. 2-digit date, 3 letters of month name, and a 4-digit year number. And then after that, a comma. So job title we said is a clock, right? So just say clock inside a single quote. Okay, and then run it. So set the record inserted. So this time I'm going to ask you to do it. So create a new employee record for whom? For another person. So let's say this time for Sarah. Sarah was hired today, but has missing values for a few columns. So just say the only thing we know is Sarah was hired today. So for Sarah, who was hired today. So trying to create a new records for that. So the only thing we know is that is hire date and also employee name. But then, of course, we need the employee number. So we need to make up one. Okay, give you 1 minute, finish. You done? Finish it? Okay, so can somebody tell me what is the solution? We're going to do insert, right? Into EMP. Are we going to specify columns or not specify columns? So let's just specify columns, employee number, employee name, and hire date, okay? And then values, the first one is, I will just make up something. So that would be, say, 9001, okay? So you're going to specify employee number, which has to be unique, the primary key value, or it also must be required, is also required. It's mandatory. You cannot leave that empty, okay? And then second one is Sarah, name, okay? And then what about today's date? Well, we can just interpret that today's date as 14 OCT, and then 2020, something like that, okay? Or there's a better way to do that. Instead of using that literal date, we can use Oracle date, sys date. That is just like some people take it C#, but that's just like a now, data time dot now. Okay, just current system time. Okay, so sys date will give you whatever the current date that that is retrieved from your computer system. All right, let's enter. Now this one is created. Okay, and let's try to see what the things we have done. Okay, select star from EMP. So let's try to see what the records we just created.
Professor?
Yeah.
When I typed in sysdate,
yeah.
When I ran the code, it didn't give me an error, but the word shows up in black text, not blue.
This is black text instead of blue?
Yeah.
Sure, I think so. You don't have any error message. You get a result, say 1 row inserted.
Yeah, it said it was inserted.
Okay, so that should be okay. I think this probably you have a different version from here. This lab installed this a while ago, so it might have different versions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. So now let's say employee table. So the table, the arrows, the record we just created. I think I made a mistake here. It's clock, but it's clock here. Okay, and then the date is right. So that's October 14th, 2020, and also have missing values for some of those, right? So so records are created, but there's something which is this clock. We'll see how we'll fix it. Okay, we'll fix it. We'll use update statement to fix it. All right, so now let's look at next statement. So here, update Sarah's record by adding missing values and removing hire date. Change Lisa's department number to 90. Okay. Now let's just do this next statement. So, yeah, let's do that first. So comment. Okay, so this is a pretty long question here. So first, update Sarah's record by adding missing values and removing her hire date. Okay, so I'm going to just look at Lisa here. So she has currently she has no job title, and no manager. Okay, and then no salary, no commission, and no department number. Okay, so I'm going to fix that, and also I'm going to remove this hire date. Okay, so you understand that we are working on existing records, so we have to use update, not the delete. Okay, so let's do update. So first of all, update EMP. So update the name of table. So which record you're going to update? The record is located inside the employee table. So update EMP, and then you set. And after set, you basically say column equals to new value. Each column equals new value. So let's just say job. Let's say job equals to salesman. Okay. Okay. So this is one column value, and then let's say MGR. Okay, MGR is actually the employee number of somebody. So let's just say for that, for this lady Sarah, let's try to give her a manager. Let's say her manager is James. Okay, 7900. So I will do 7900 as a value for new manager. Okay, and then let's also give her a salary, commission, and also department. Okay, so let's say salary equals to 2400, and the commission equal to 0. Let's say there's no commission. That's just still we can say equal to null. Okay, we can still leave that as empty. And then department number. Let's say department number equals to 90, and then let's say, well, okay, we are going to have a mistake, and then you can tell why there's a mistake. Okay. So how do we specify that this change only applies to Sarah? Anybody? Instead of doing everything. So if you just stop here, say semicolon, if you do that, do something like this, you know what's going to happen? All job title will be changed to salesman. All managers will be 7900, and then salary would be, so that would be changing all records. Okay, so that's not what we want. We want to just specify that let's change as only for Sarah. So this is how we do it. Okay, we can either specify that Sarah, this record by employee number, so EMP number equals to 9001, or we can just say ename is equal to Sarah. So we can do either one because we're assuming that names are unique here, right? There's no second Sarah. Okay, so that should be okay for this limited table. But if you have a large table, then this will not work. Okay, so employee name, you may have several employees with same name. Okay, but again, this one still have error. Has somebody point out why it has error? Referential integrity rule. So when you're inserting value into a foreign key column, you have to make sure that value already exists, right? Does it make sense? Okay, so do you have like a department number 90? I don't. So if I run this, I'm going to have an error message. So this time, I'm going to introduce second referential integrity rule. Do you remember what was the first one? Referential integrity rule number 2. So the first one was RI1, says data type and the size for a foreign key column must match the corresponding. You know what corresponding means? Let's just say those that particular column was duplicated. Corresponding PK column. Okay. And then that's what we did before. We learned that rule before. Now today I'm introducing rule number 2. This is rule number 1. Okay. The rule number 2 is value to be inserted into a foreign key column must pre-exist in the corresponding PK column. Okay, so just means if the foreign key value may be missing, but if you're trying to put a value into the foreign key column, that value must already exist in the corresponding primary key column. Otherwise, it would not make sense, right? So you can insert a new employee, but the employee put that employee into department 90, but there's no department 90. See that? So that's how the referential integrity rule is preventing you from making this kind of mistake. Okay, so now we can go back to changes. So we can say we already have department 550 or 60. Let's just change it to 60, right? 60, that should be okay now. 60. Okay, and then run it. Okay, so one row updated. So now let's take a look. Oh, by the way, I think we made, we also want to remove hire date. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's just do this again. So let's just do, let's put one more comma here. So hire date equals to null. So that just simply just remove whatever value inside the department in hire date, you just remove it. Okay, we did that for commission. So let's do it again. So if you're trying to change multiple column values, just make sure comma, separate those the column value pairs. So just make sure the name of the column is actually the columns that matching the column names. Okay, name of the column value, columns, and also equal to whatever the new value you're trying to put. So actually put like have a small letter here. So doesn't matter the case, the case, small case, larger case inside single quote. That actually is the only place. Actually, that's the only place that is case sensitive. Otherwise, SQL statement is not case sensitive. So for example, this update, you can just completely make the uppercase, and the names can be completely uppercase. Column names can be also uppercase, lowercase, or mixed case. However, only thing that is case sensitive is inside the text single quote. That is text value. Text values are case sensitive. Okay. So for example, here the salesman will not be same as all capital salesman. So Oracle will consider this two different values if you have different cases. Okay. All right. So now let's say.
So if you referenced MGR and then that was all caps, it would still work? That
would be still working, yes.
Okay.
So column names, table names, and all the keywords like update, set, where, all those are not case sensitive. Okay. All right, and now let's say if we run this again, we should be able to run this again, okay? And then you should get new records changed. So let's do that again. So let's say select star run EMP, and now let's run that. The new result. So now we have, say, Sarah, right? Sarah, and then we have no hire data now for her now, and no commission, but the department is signed, the salary is all signed, and the manager is already assigned. Okay. Now let's try to change Lisa's. Okay, change Lisa's job title to clerk, not clerk. Okay. So let's do that again. So update, EMP, set job equals to clock. Okay. And then say where. So how do we say Lisa? So we say EMP number equals to 9,000. So that will be specified the action will be taken only on this row, on this record. Okay, instead of for everyone. Okay. So let's run this. All right, so this one has been changed. Okay, so if you run this statement again, select from EMP again, so then you see the clock has been changed. Okay, the same thing you can do to change this one. So I am going to move on unless you have questions about update. Let me see whether I have finished all update. Oh, there's one delete. Okay, so delete we're going to do next. Okay, let's say I want to delete the newly created department and the Lisa's record. Okay, so let's do that. Question first. So let's say I want to delete a new department. So which department? Let's say I want to delete department 60. Let's look at the department first. Okay, select star from DEPT. Okay. So let's say department 60, department 50 are two ones we just created. So now let's say I want to delete department 60. Let me say whether we can do that. You can tell me why. So I will say delete. Okay, from DEPT. Okay, so what will happen if you do that? All records, all departments will be deleted. Okay, of course, that's not what we want. We want to specify that only for department 60. So DEPT number equals to 60. Okay, but even that, we still could not delete. Does anybody understand why we could not delete in this case? So if you run it, you're going to get an error message saying that action, what is that? Integrity constraint violated, child record found. Understand why? Because we inserted the new employee with department 60. So now you try to delete that, what's going to happen? Then if you delete this record, department 60 does not exist anymore. So then the employee you inserted will be violating the referential integrity rule. Okay? Does it make sense? Okay. So you know what will happen if you use some kind of a desktop database like Access? They will probably allow you to do it, but then you end up with deleting the department and also all the associated employees. Okay, and that's called cascade delete. Cascade delete. So that's not what. Let's say that's very, very dangerous. Okay, very dangerous because you may unintentionally delete a lot of things that you were not aware of. So I'm going to change to 50. Let's just try to say that. Okay. Okay. So that department is deleted. Now, what if you want to delete this department 60? So in that case, you have to just look at the department employee table first. So employee table is not in here. Let's run that statement. Okay. Okay. So if I want to delete department 60, then we have to make sure that we delete this record first. Okay. Delete this Sarah's record first. Okay. Let's try that. Okay. So let's delete from EMP where Sarah. So let's say ename equals to Sarah. Okay, so by the way, if you're trying to say the case sensitivity, this will show. Okay, so if you use instead of all capital Sarah, you're trying to do it, it's not going to do it. So it says 0 deleted. It does not mean that statement is wrong. It's just because the value, because of case sensitivity, so you could not find a person with this kind of name. Okay, so if you want to make this to work, make sure it is matching the case that is inside the record. So now it should be okay. So 1 row deleted. So now the employee record should no longer be there. And then we can delete that department also. Delete from DPD where PD number equals to 60. And now it should be okay. Okay, so 1 row deleted. Okay, and once again, let's say what we have achieved so far. Basically, we come back to the same department table. Then let's look at the employee table also. And we still have one more row. That's employee. That's Lisa's record is still there. We just added. Okay. Other than that, I don't think we changed it. We did anything. Okay. So we come back using we inserted and deleted. All right. Now, any questions so far? So basically, this part is kind of like I think it's pretty easy, but basically just need to remember the syntax. Okay, for insert, for update, and for delete. You just remember the syntax. So most of attention will be put on how do we do select. Okay, so let's do select statements. All right, so let's start with the very first one, example 1. So find all employees whose salary is more than $800. So question first. Okay. So look at here. So the question is asking to find employees. So does not specify which columns signify employees. You probably need to know the employee name, right? Maybe employee number, okay, at least. And then also need to say salary. Salary is more than 800, so you probably also want to show salary column, okay? So now look at this table here. So I want to get the employee name, employee number, employee name, and also salary, okay? And for who? So basically those 3 columns: employee name, number column, employee name column, and also employee salary column. The 3 columns. So let's say select EMP number, E name, and then salary. So you just get the 3 columns. Then from the name of table is also clear. So all this data which we need is from this one single table, that's EMP table. Okay. And now we need to specify the employees we want to find. The employees we want to find is salary is more than 800. So that basically say, well, sal is more than 800, like that, okay? So this answer that question. Whose salary is more than 800, okay? So when you're given like a query question like this, say find all employees, it does not mean that you have a column called employees. You have to interpret that what you're looking for. You're looking for employees information, right? What information? At least employee name, maybe. Also in this case, we refer to salary, so it should have at least employee name and salary information inside the query result. And then you also use where clause to specify which columns which rows you want to specify. Okay, we want to filter. And there we go. So we find the 3 columns and correspondingly their salaries, or that all those people have salary more than 800. Make sense? Pretty easy, right? Okay. So we always start with something simple, but then you have to repeat many exercises, trying to like familiar with the syntax and also know how to solve simple problems. And then later on, starting from next week, we'll have more complicated queries, but all these complicated queries are always built on the basic ones, okay? So if you're familiar with the basic ones, then the complicated ones just more like add up, add a few basic ones into more like complicated ones, okay? All right, so now let's go to next question. Find all employees who was hired after 1980. So make sure you have your hands on, okay? So just trying to practice. Follow me to practice this. So again, this time you'll find employees records, okay? Whose hire date is after 1980. So how do we do that? So let's just say this time I also want looking for employee number, e-name at least, right? And also hire date, okay? From the name table is also clear, that is the employee table. And now let's specify how we specify the filter condition for the records for the employees. So the hire date, hire after that. So that means we have a column called hire. We have a column called hire date, right? So we have the hire date. Okay, after means greater than. So how do we specify that 1980? How do we specify that? So for that, you're going to just you can use a literal value for date. So remember, after 1980, you can interpret that as December 31st, 1980, something like that. And I'm going to also tell you how to do toDate, toChar functions, so that way you can actually do different format, but this is the default format for date. Okay. Does it make sense? So this time we are looking for 3 columns, and then the records we are going to select will be the ones that higher dated greater than this, after this date. Okay. And let's run it again. Hold on, we have some kind of error here. Can somebody tell me why? So let's look at, it says that, yes, see what happened? I select this one. I partially select the statement. I should just mouse over this, just not selecting anything, okay? Or can select the entire statement and not partially select. So there we go. There we go. Okay, so we have that. Okay, now at this time, at this place, I'm going to show you. So what if what is this? So that's 17 November 81. Is that like is that 2081 or is it 1991 or 1881? Which one? It's not clear, right? So because of that, actually into year 2000, are you familiar with year 2K problem? So before that date, all computer system was created that with your 2-digit for year number. We're assuming, basically at that time, the computer scientists are probably assuming that the human life will end by 2000, okay? Will not, the computer will not survive after 2000. So all of a sudden we have a huge problem. So, 2-digit year number, we will get like a number like 1, 2, is that 1912 or 2012? It's not clear, right? So all of a sudden, in that just 1999, everybody, industry was panic about how to do the transformation, how to convert everything into 4-digit year numbers. Okay, so here, now let's say if I want to show 4 numbers for the entire year number, this is what we can do. Okay, let's just say, let's just try to introduce 2char function, okay? Introduce 2char function. So basically, for this higher date, I'm going to not just present the higher date stored in a database. I'm going to convert that into like using some kind of like familiar patterns, which at least will show 4 year numbers, right? So I'm going to show select EMP number, ename, and then for the higher date, I'm going to convert it. I will say 2char higher date. Convert that, and then you tell what kind of format you want. Okay, I just say, suppose I want to use a month name, and then 2-digit for year for day value, and then y as a year number. So that will give you like a long date format, right? Like something like January 1st, 1999, something like that. And since we are using this is more like a function, right? So we can also change this result, just represent this result as new column names. So maybe you can just say this is edge date, okay? So we can just specify this edge date. Does not matter, okay? And then from EMP, and then higher date, again, just same thing, so greater than. Okay, now let's say, this time I also, for this date, instead of using this format, let's say I want to use a different format. So in this time, I will have like a general text, okay? Specify typically like American format of date, and then I will convert that into date. So what I will do is I will use another function called toDate. So this is just like in C#, you have convert to date, convert to strings, similar, okay? So here we are using toDate to convert a string into date, and the 2char will convert date into char, into characters. Okay, so we'll say toDate, okay, toDate, and then we'll specify what kind of format. So let's just say I want to do, this time I'll just do format like, what was it, December 31st, 1980, okay? So after 1980, right? So that is a form, that is a text, okay? And then I need to tell toDate function, which one is for date, which one is for month. The first 2 digits for month, and then second 2 digits for day value, and then the last 4 digits for year number. There we go. So then basically you are converting this text. This is not Oracle date. This is text, okay? Because inside single quote, it's not in the default format like this. So Oracle will interpret that as like a text, okay? But you convert that into date, and then you tell Oracle that this for months, and then DD y. So you say the DD, and the only thing that difference is the month instead of a month name. You are telling the month number here, okay? And if you want to just have the first digit, that's just the 3 digits for month name, just MON. That's another thing for months. Okay, so for months you can use a month number or month name or 3 letters for month number, month name. Okay, so I will just get back to that. All right, now let's run this statement and you will see what we obtained. So here you see the new column name called HDate. And the result will be in some kind of long date format. So it will be showing, month numbers, month names, and also year numbers completely. All right. Okay, so now let's move on. So that we introduce to-channel to-date. Now, next one is finding employees who never received the commission. Okay. So if you want to look at the data original query, let's just run that statement again. So which one? So let's see, to figure out how do we write the query. Okay, select start from EMP. Okay. So we want to find the employee. Oh, something wrong. What did I wrong? What is wrong? Oh, this statement was not completed. Thank you for that. Yeah. It was wrong. It was wrong, right? Okay, so let's. But this end up with that we have errors because the previous one was not closed. Okay. Thank you for that. So here, this time I want to find employees who have no commissions. So all these employees have no commissions, right? What about this employee? This employee also have no commission, even though it's 0, but there's no commission, right? So how do we say that? So we're going to say select employees. So we can say employee name, name, okay? And or maybe also commission from EMP. And then say where. So how do we say commission is missing? So is com is null. That's how we say that it's missing. But there's only one possible case. Another possible case is commission equal to 0. So basically I have 2 possibilities, either this one or this one, right? So you use or to connect them. So when you use or and, make sure each part is complete condition, okay? So you cannot do something like this. Let me just try to say this, equal to 0. This will not work. Do you understand why this will not work? Because after all, you do not have a complete condition. Equal to 0, what equal to 0? You have to specify that, okay? So com equal to 0. Now, what if I change this or to and? Anybody can tell me what's going to happen? Can I use and in this case? Sometimes it may not be very clear, but in this case, it's very clear. Okay, you're not going to have like a self value commission is 0, and also at the same time is missing, right? So these two just too exclusive. This case or that case, you cannot have one self value with both cases, right? Does it make sense? So that's why this case, is very clear. But sometimes, our English is very vague. So sometimes you have to interpret using, the context, use the meaning. But you cannot just arbitrarily just think, it should be and or depending on the, depending on the language. Okay. I think we may have example like that. So let's say we will do that. We will say the employee commission is null or commission equal to 0. I think we still have error somewhere. So what? Oh, come on. Okay, thank you. Commission. All right, so let's run it again. So all this, all these employees have no commissions or 0 commissions. Okay. All right, and next. find those salesmen. Okay. So question. So here the question is find those salesmen who were hired before. So we know how to say hired before that, but how do we say salesman? So it's tempting for some people to do this. Select salesman from, let's do the next line, okay, from EMP. Well, hire date, I just say before, that's less than 1983, so I would just use January 1st, okay, and 1983, January, Jan, 1983, okay. So it's tempting to do that, but you know that after this select statement, you have to have a column names or functions of those column names. Do we have a column called a salesman? No. So this is not correct, right? So how do we interpret that we're trying to find a salesman? How do we interpret the query? Well, we just want to find an employee whose job is salesman, right? So we make sure that hire date is that, and at the same time, and the job title is salesman. Okay. That is what we mean, okay? So just make sure that you somehow have to interpret the query correctly. Okay, so that means we find a salesman who's hired after that, okay? Okay, so those are the employees. By the way, if I want to just find all the job titles, select job from EMP. That will give you all the job titles, one for each employee, right? See that? And then, the values, because the values are repeating, right? Because it's not, you just basically get all the job title, just get all the job title column, complete the values. So if we want to suppress this repetitive values, we should put like a keyword distinct in front of it. Distinct, okay? So that way, only the distinct values will be retrieved. So that is kind of a useful technique that sometimes we need to not just say all the repetitive values, but we want to say only unique values. All right, so we have a few more minutes. Let's say, well, the next one is already done. Okay, so I'm going to skip that. So let me copy that and put into the question here. Okay. And so let's say whether we can do 2 more questions. Hopefully we can. So let's say example 6. Okay, so find those employees whose name starts with letter K. Okay, so I think we can do that. Okay. So this time we find the employees. Okay, so that is easy. So we find the employee name, right? Employee name. And any other information we need? Probably just name, because we are talking about the employees who has name, or maybe employee number. So if we want an employee number, also include that, throw that in from EMP. Now let's say how can we figure out the filtering condition. So their name starts with letter K. This is how we do it. So name, ename. So you're going to put like, then you put some kind of pattern. So start with letter K. So the first letter is K. And then what after that, you don't know, you just replace that with percentage sign, okay? So in Microsoft Access, that would be just like a star, but here we use a percentage sign to represent anything you do not know. So that means starting from letter K, okay? But what if you want to say, I want to find a name that has letter K inside? So in that case, you will say percentage sign and the K, and then percentage sign next. So anything before, anything after, can be anything, okay? And then K is a letter in the middle, okay? Or maybe somewhere in the beginning also. So that's fine too, okay? So that basically just say that the ename will have a letter K inside. Okay. Of course, if you just want to say the letter ends with the name ends with a K, then just say that put a K in the last. Okay, that's end with a K. Does everybody follow me? Okay, so just say the question was find the first beginning letter is a K, but anything after that could be something that could be anything. Okay, so or maybe unknown. So we found one that is a kin. Okay, let's start with letter K. All right, I think we are in good shape. I think we should be able to finish one more. I'm going to skip 7 because 7 is pretty much similar to what we did with salesman case. Okay, but this time you just find salary more than that. And then find all employees in dollars. Oh, okay. So let's try to do that. Okay. So question 8. So now we are starting to get a little bit more complexity. So we don't want to find employees. Okay. So we select employee information. Let's say ename. Okay. Employee information from ename. And then from now we need to say from EMP table, definitely, right? EMP table. Make sense? However, this time we have a problem. We want to find an employee whose location is dollars. Okay, which table has information about location? Department table. So in other words, this time we need to get information from but not just employee table, but also EMP, but also DEPT table. We need to combine both tables into one. Okay, so that's why we need to also introduce department table in here. Okay, and then we say where location equals to dollars. Okay, but not only that. At this point, even the Oracle has a connection. Say department employee has like a foreign key. Department number is a foreign key employee table. That's how these two departments are connected. These two tables are connected. But then we have to specify that in the where clause. Okay, so we say and DEPT number, that is the primary key, must be also equal to EMP.DEPT number. Okay, and so that basically has a built-in slight complexity. So when you have 2 or more tables, when you in the select statement, then you have to make sure that the primary key, foreign key values are matching. Okay, so this is how you specify that. Okay, so DEPT tables, department number, equals to EMP tables, department number. Okay, so that's how you specify columns inside a table, one by one. Okay, let's run that. And we get error sometime this time again. So which one has error here? So let's do it again. You see, sometimes because I select something. Anybody tell me what's wrong here? Which one? This one? Oh, okay, thank you. So the previous one was not ended. Okay. Right? Okay, so we found these employees whose location is dollars, and that's how we link the department table with employee table. And we'll be talking about something called a join in the next class, but this is actually join. Is so-called is inner join. Is a way to do inner join. Okay, but we can do just write a join, inner join explicitly, but this is actually implicit join. Okay. All right, I think that should be it. Let me take a look at your questions here. So for next week, for next Monday's homework, you're going to do those 10 query questions. You just need to say, put a question here and write your answer, put a question and write the answer one by one, like what I did in class, and then submit that to eCourse, okay? And then multiple choice questions should be also posted, and can double check, see whether there's any errors. All right, doesn't anybody have questions?
So you want us to write it on paper?
Say it again?
You want us to write it on paper for the homework due next Monday?
Yeah, for next Monday, just use the data develop, use the SQL develop like what I did here, and then you can just copy and paste into Word and submit that into eCourse. Okay.
Can we do a picture, or would it be too long?
Picture is fine, or you can just simply just copy this whole thing. I think that you can also save, right? You save this into like some kind of file, and you can submit that file too. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, you can just copy everything that you already did, and paste into Microsoft Word. Say copy, and then go to Microsoft Word, paste it, and submit that. Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah.
For that last statement, the join statement,
Yeah.
does that not work if you have it the other way around? Like employee or like EMP department number equals department number?
That should be still working.
Okay.
Working, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. If not, have a good weekend. Just make sure you do homework before weekend. Okay. And then don't wait until next Monday to do your homework. I'm going to stop recording.